Today we are finally going to be checking out this budget Mando bust build. We're talking life size. We're going to go over parts and assembly and hopefully inspire you guys to work on something of your own. So let's jump in and check it out. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I have not been a big fan of Book of Fett, and I needed some Mandalorian action just to cleanse my palate of that show. So if you're in the same spot, hopefully this video will help you get back to normal as well. The goal with this project was to create a 1-to-1 scale Mandalorian bust in kind of a budget build type of way where parts are, these are easily found, fairly cheap parts. The initial goal was to keep the budget on this thing at about $250, but I decided to upgrade the chest and shoulder armor at the very last minute to some parts that were fiberglass that were actually painted with Lumiluster, and that jumped the budget from about $250 to about $450 all in. But the helmet's totally wearable. When you're talking about a life-size bust, it still has really cool detail up close. $450 I think is still workable for a lot of folks who might be paying triple or more for a bust like that from somebody like, say, Sideshow. The whole bust is based around a Mando Black Series helmet from Hasbro. I think I paid about $120 for the helmet. It does need some weathering. It does need that finish knocked down a little bit, but that's all easy stuff. The chest and shoulder pauldron armor came from a maker on Etsy. This is where I ran the budget up a bit at the last minute, but they came pre-painted with a Lumiluster, which is what they use in the show. Now, the fiberglass torso bust mannequin ran about $60. We'll talk about some adjustments I had to make to it to get it to work, but it was a good solid base to work from. Now, in terms of Mando's cape scarf thing, that's actually just an old sweater that I had hanging around in the closet. It was a good way to repurpose it for free and save some cash. The bandolier is just a cheap synthetic leather cosplay belt bandolier from The Mandalorian. What's awesome about these really mainstream shows is stuff like that shows up and you can kind of use those cheap parts and upgrade them and toss them into a project like this. So that worked out great, and that synthetic leather actually weathered much better than I expected. If you guys have seen my other video, you'll recognize the blaster there, the accessory to go with the bust. All the details on that Rubies Blaster mod are in that other video, but that blaster was like $25 or so, and it was a great easy way to add a little something to go with the bust. Now, when it comes to the actual assembly, just a few things to go over that I think will be helpful. This particular fiberglass bust, the nose sits out a little too far to fit that helmet comfortably, so I cut the nose off with a hacksaw, which looked hilarious, as you're doing it outside with the neighbors, just what is going on over there? But cut the nose off, and then I wrapped the head in just a really basic fabric, and then kind of glued it into the hole where the nose was to create a nice padded, fluffy head for the helmet to sit on. Not rocket science, but it does help to have, that'll help hold the helmet in place, and having the nose out of the way means you can position it, rotate, the helmet how you want. I did spend a lot of time weathering the armor overall, and then also brightening up the chest and shoulder armor a little bit to match the Black Series helmet. Now, given the size of this, I wanted to make sure that shoulder pauldron was removable. So I did throw on a magnet, which allows me to pop that shoulder on and off with ease. The nameplate is just whipped up from an old Power of the Force Star Wars toy. I think it was a base for some figure, maybe a Luke or a Vader, I don't know. But it worked out great because it has a very Star Wars-y shape to it. It's injection molded plastic, easy to repaint and modify into this little nameplate, and I think it adds something to the overall appearance of the bust. Mounting the chest piece was a little tricky. I did have to trim the bottom corners of that chest armor off, and then it's epoxied into place, but there's also one single hidden screw right in the center, hidden by the bandolier, that tacks the chest plate to the actual fiberglass bust. I really didn't want to put a screw there if I didn't have to, but I also wanted this thing to be sturdy, so I ended up making the compromise. The bandolier covers it anyway. If you really want to get nitpicky, this thing is not 100% accurate. Those rounds, for example, are not going to they're not going to be the beautiful machined aluminum replicas that you see floating around out there for, $40, $50, $75 a set. The same thing with the bandolier. It's not 100%. Those are parts that can be easily upgraded later if I so choose. Right now, I'm super happy with it, and it gets the job done. When it comes to a project like this, so much of the payoff is just finessing the thing to look well put together and well dressed, and you don't want to be the guy showing up with some DIY life-size bust that looks like it fell out of a, Halloween overstock bin. Anyway, guys, thank you for checking this out. Please like and subscribe. If you have any ideas on how to save money on a build like this, please throw those down in the comments. They are super helpful to folks who might be watching this. I will be back soon with more content. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll catch you next time. Later.